Hi, I'm Sandy Ray, founder of Sandra E. Ray CPA, where we alleviate financial headaches so that you can create a bigger impact. Today, I want to talk about the main positions in your nonprofit accounting department. Now, we've identified 8 different positions or functions for your accounting department, but it's not necessary that you have 8 separate people completing these functions for you. For our smaller organizations, you may only need 2 or 3 individuals. So first I want to talk about the roles and responsibilities for each of these functions, and then we can talk about grouping them into logical groups so that we can reduce the number of individuals that are performing these functions. First of all, I want to talk about the treasurer. Obviously, this is a board member and officer of the corporation. This is the person who has the ultimate responsibility for the organization's finances. They have a fiduciary responsibility to the organization. And they are going to be the person who's going to be approving the financial policies along with the board. They're the person who's bringing that to the board and saying these are the financial policies for the organization for the board to approve. And they're probably going to be an authorized signatory on all of our accounts, along with the executive director. That way we have a little bit of backup in case a person's not available, or maybe your organization requires 2 signatures on all disbursements or disbursement over a set dollar amount. The next person I want to talk about is our Chief Financial Officer, or CFO. This is the person who's in charge of all of our nonprofit organization finances. They're going to be reporting to the executive director. They're going to be drafting those financial policies for the board to approve, or at least be involved in it. They're also going to be the person who's setting the financial procedures that are going to be followed to ensure that the policies are followed. This person probably is going to be an authorized signatory. So again, we have another person who's doing backup in case someone's not available, or maybe this is the person for the dual signature. The third function I want to talk about is our finance director. Now, this person is in charge of the day-to-day operations. They're going to be overseeing our staff. For the accounting function, they're going to be determining what software the accounting function we're going to be using, and any other tools that we're using in our accounting department. They're going to be ensuring that the policies and procedures are followed, and they're going to be reporting directly to the CFO. Now, this person may or may not be an authorized signatory, depends on how we split these duties. Just as long as this person is not doing any of the actual recording, I would say you could go ahead and make that person an authorized signatory. The fourth person I want to talk about is the controller. Now, this is our compliance person, and this person is going to report directly to the executive director, not to the CFO. This person is in charge of making sure that the organization is compliant with our federal and state regulations. So this is the person who's responsible for the 990 and all of our other state compliance reporting. Maybe we put them in charge of our compliance reporting for our grants and those kinds of things. This is the person who's going to be our contact person for our financial audit. And if we have internal audits, this is the person who's going to be doing and conducting or overseeing those audits, making sure that our policies and procedures are followed. This person will definitely not be an authorized signatory. This is a compliance person to make sure that the accounting function, the recording function, the movement of cash, and our investments are where we want them to be, and therefore we don't want them to have any type of authorized signatory ability. The fifth person I want to talk to you about is the accounting manager. Now, this person is going to oversee the accounting function process. They're going to be the one who's actually doing the bank reconciliations, looking at those accruals and making sure that they make sense. They're going to be processing your payroll. This is definitely not an authorized signatory person. This person is deep into the accounting function and the recording function and overseeing that. So this person and all the people I'm going to talk about following will not have signatory authority. The sixth person I wanted to talk about is the staff accountant. Now, this is the person who's actually going to be doing the day-to-day accounting activities. They're going to be looking at your balance sheet, making sure that if there's any journal entries that need to be recorded to bring those balances in line, that they're completed. They're going to be looking at the revenue and expenses, making sure things are in line with the way they're supposed to be. If there's any reclasses or adjustments that need to be made, they're the person who's going to be doing that. The seventh person I want to talk about is the accounts payable specialist. Now, this is the person who's going to be processing our incoming vendor invoices for payment to go out to the vendors. And then the last person I want to talk about is the billing coordinator. Now, depending on your organization, this may be a very simple job or it may be very complicated, but this is the person who's in charge of the accounts receivable, all the customer invoices. Now, it can be very difficult if you're billing Medicare, Medicaid, and insurance, or you have a very complicated cost reimbursement grant, or if you've got a lot of program service billings that you're doing for individuals. It can be very complicated. If you're not doing those kinds of things, the billing coordinator probably doesn't have a whole lot to do. So those are the 8 functions. Now, we don't need 8 people to perform all these functions. For our smaller organizations, we can combine these functions into some logical groupings. The first grouping would be the treasurer, CFO, and finance director. Now, this grouping is kind of the people that are in charge of oversight and monitoring and governance. They're setting the policies. They're monitoring that the procedures are being followed. They're logging into the bank accounts and making sure that the bank balance is what it says on the reports. They're reviewing the transactions to make sure that nothing unexpected is showing there. So they're in the oversight, governance, monitoring position. The next group I like to put together is the controller, the accounting manager, and the staff accountant. Now, these are the people that require the expertise in nonprofit accounting to do what needs to be done. This can be outsourced in order to get that specific expertise, or you can have someone in-house to do that. These are the people that are in charge of overseeing the day-to-day operations, making sure that the transactions are posted properly, that the statement of financial position accruals are being posted accurately and the numbers are supported, that our revenue and expenses are being put into the right buckets for our restricted funds. So they're in charge of making sure that all of that works together. And then the third person, if you need a third person, would be your accounts payable or your accounts receivable specialist. Now, depending on your organization, your third person may just be accounts receivable specialist, and the accounts payable is rolled up into the controller and accounting manager and the staff accountant, or vice versa. Or if the transactions for your organization are not so complicated or there aren't that many, you could roll both the accounts payable and the accounts receivable function into the controller accountant, staff accountant position until a time when you need to separate them. No matter the size of your organization, you need to have all of these functions covered. But there are some efficient ways to combine these responsibilities and reduce the number of volunteer staff or outsourced professionals that you need to have at your disposal. Keep in mind that these responsibilities, as we've discussed a couple of weeks ago, require some very specific skills. So you want to make sure that the people that we're handing these off to have those skills. And when combining functions, you want to make sure that you're keeping your separation of duties. What I mean by separation of duties is the person who's handling the asset, like the cash, is not the person recording it in the financial statements or in accounting records. So the person who's recording the deposit in your general ledger is not the person going to the bank. Keep those separate. If you're following that golden rule for internal controls, you're doing really well. So I want to thank you for joining me today. Remember, creating a bigger impact starts with stopping the nonsense. If you're dealing with nonsense in your nonprofit organization, we'd love to help you cut through the noise.